Hi, and welcome back to another episode of HR Celebrity. This is our episode 7, which is pretty exciting. We've got a fantastic show for you today. But before we get into it, what is the show about? It's about information, it's about education, it's about learning within the HR industry and within the HR context. Today we've got Faatiemah Lodewyk, the HR manager of the Clicks Group, joining us. Clicks Group, massive company, so it's going to be really exciting having her on the show, and she'll be talking about personal effectiveness in teams. So without further ado, let's get Faatiemah on the line. Let's see if we can get Faatiemah. It's my awesome Skype. Let's check it out. I think I might be the only person who uses Skype in the country. But let's see if we can get Faatiemah on the line. Stressing me out because she's my only guest for today. Because I'm a little bit ahead of schedule here by the looks of it. Sorry guys, let's see if we can get Faatiemah. Is that Faatiemah? Do we have Faatiemah?
Hi.
Hi Faatiemah. I can't see you at the moment. Are you able to turn on your camera? Faatiemah? Are you still with us, Faatiemah? How's it? Hello. Faatiemah, I can't see you at the moment. Are you able to turn on your camera?
Yes, just
Sorry guys, I'm just getting Faatiemah on the line. I'll bring her on shortly. It's all live. Faatiemah, you are at an angle. You're upside down. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, if you could just turn your camera.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see if that works.
That?
Yeah, that worked. Don't know why it's not adjusting, but let's leave it at that. Faatiemah, welcome to HR Celebrity. Thank you very much for being with us on the show today.
My pleasure.
Faatiemah, before
Can you hear me
clearly? Sorry?
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you. Before we start, maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
So, my name, Faatiemah Lodewyk. I'm currently in transition. So, I am the HR manager that looks after the commercial chief for Clicks Group currently. And why in transition? Because I am reinstating my business that I started a few years called Talent Core, very much targeted around just solution design when it comes to HR practices, HR business partnership, as well as personal and leadership effectiveness partnership. I've been working in HR for just about 20 years now. Worked across quite a number of industries, from financial services, retail, FMCG, pharmacy, as well as food and beverages. Organizations, I think, like Old Mutual, NMI, Woolworths, Pick and Pay, and the likes. So yes, I've been very lucky to have worked in many organizations, gained a lot of exposure to other organizations' ways of working, and that's really been an advantage for me. The other thing that I also leverage from is that I'm a registered organizational psychologist, and so I've been registered for well over a decade now. And I think that's also been quite an advantage when I work on culture and organizational development initiatives.
Okay, fantastic. Faatiemah, I'm not sure if it would be possible, but could you possibly lift your camera a little bit? I don't know if I'm sort of seeing more of the window behind you. It's cool. Faatiemah, you are talking about personal effectiveness in teams. Why does personal effectiveness matter in the context of human capital?
So I think with the global pandemic that we're going through right now, you can just imagine that on the front line for HR, we have to constantly guide and direct our organizations, be it leaders, be it employees. So I think the ability to create self-effectiveness for a line manager is critical mass right now, even for an employee, because everything people face, be it the pandemic we're going through now or any other change, the ability to keep the business functioning and to keep the business productive and at least serving the shareholders if you're a corporate, or serving the objective if you're a public sector business. It's about making sure that the people within your business understand how and what they need to do. So for me, personal effectiveness, I've always found as a great enabler, a great channel to ensure success in the workplace.
So where do you start? Where does somebody start when they're looking at personal effectiveness?
So for me, I've always had this philosophy as an HR business partner that I can't best serve my stakeholders, be it an employee or a line manager. You can't serve them well if you don't understand where they are at. So I think it's critical to always start where they are, understand what is the real need and the real ask. So if it is something that is macro-driven, so it's something that is outside of their control, is to support them and to understand what is it about this macro factor that impacts them. Make sure that you understand how you can give them the tools and the responses so that they can make effective decisions as leaders or employees. And I think the other thing is, if it's more micro, it's to understand the environment, understand what are the factors that's feeding the environment, that's creating a challenge for either the leader or the employee. So I think for me, it's always been about understanding the point of entry of where your stakeholder is at, or the person that looks for partnership from the HR practitioner or business partner, and work from that space. And once you understand that baseline, you can truly help them to navigate themselves through whatever challenges they understand, their perspective on the challenge, and then give them the assistance to get to where they need to be. So I firmly believe that it definitely starts with just allowing them the space to describe their reality, to unpack their reality, and then sketch the solution from there on. And it's done in anything. It's done if it's just a normal operational requirement, all the way down to a culture requirement, or anything that is impacting on the business as a result of business requirement. So something's changed, you need to evolve. So the benefit of having that baseline allows you to scope the solution that they need for themselves, because there is no one size fits all when it comes to challenging realities. Human beings, we are individual, and to understand the perspective of the individual, it just lends to a better solution design. So for me, that is how I believe you are best able to equip and support your stakeholders through the concept of personal effectiveness in the workplace.
Have you had any examples of areas where this has been particularly effective for you? Just for our viewers' sake.
Sorry, Brian, you were saying the second half of your question?
Just for our viewers' sake.
Okay, so a lot of times there are things like restructures. To understand what a restructure does for an employee or a line manager it's very interesting. So let's take it from the perspective of the line manager. The line manager understands that the organization is going through some form of evolution, and it requires now to shift what the requirements of the business is to respond to that evolution. What the line manager knows is what the business imperative is. And when the line manager is faced with this business, you can do it quite pragmatically. But when you start overlaying that with the people that have to now evolve with this new reality, this is where my line managers have found it really valuable to understand, okay, so this is what I think I need to do. But when I look at who I'm impacting, let's look at how each one of this interfaces on them. So just recently, we had a process where I needed to support a line manager, and it felt almost just too pragmatic in the sense that this needs to happen. It's a business requirement, and we understand why. But when you get to the who in the equation, you start to understand that the room full of people that you're translating this message to, they see this message in various ways. And then from the employee's perspective, it's to be there in support of the line manager so that you are able to respond and navigate the line manager through either emotion, through either shock, through either understanding. And so there's an iterative process of having to support line managers in the example. So I'll use a restructure as an example. Another has been for me now, just a little bit more relevant, has been COVID-19. With the entry point of the first case, patient X in South Africa, the evolution for us as HR practitioners on the front line has been somewhat, I think it's almost, I feel that we need to be just like your frontline medical staff. We are currently that same fraternity, but for human capital, because human beings that continue to serve in an essential services environment, they need care and consideration as well. So for us as HR professionals, it was, what is it that we support in understanding how the virus works? Then it's about understanding, so how do we respond to this in the workplace? How do we then support this as an employee goes through this? What are the benefits? So as we went through this journey, we've needed to be agile enough to stand with our stakeholders at their entry point and enable them at that point and take it to the next step. So whenever people go through things, I always use a very simple phrase to say, take it one step at a time, because you can only really allow yourself to navigate your next point from that step onward. But to plan the whole journey to the end doesn't allow for you to be able to be agile enough to scope and respond with a level of effectiveness for yourself. And so I always tell people, get to the one point, understand where you are, create a sense of solid positioning of yourself, and then re-navigate to the next point. And that's how we went through COVID-19 and how we supported our business to make sense of what they needed from a protocol, practice, benefits, TERS, all of those wonderful things. And I think it's been a real kind of evolution under fire for us as a community of practice, because we've learned quite a lot on how to be personally effective ourselves.
I mean, HR has obviously been a vital component of everything that is organization and COVID-19. I mean, you raise an excellent point. I mean, the stresses that people are facing as well as, like you say, just understanding the protocols and the new legislation that's come out and the new policies and procedures that need to be implemented, whether it be, sneeze screens I mean, who even knew what a sneeze screen was 2 months ago, if you had to, or 3 months ago. So yes, I can imagine especially from such a large organization, where you've got thousands of employees kind of expecting you to know the answers. Agility is vital in terms of firstly understanding, but then also being able to adapt and move with that. How would the focus of personal effectiveness be relevant in terms of the value of the current global impacts? What is your comment on that?
So, as I've mentioned, I think that we are constantly required to support business to come up with the practices and the processes, all of those things. But like you said, the ability to equip them is really the skill that we bring to the table now. So I mentioned to somebody that in the first lockdown, level 5, it was all about us understanding. So we were going through a process of learning, understanding this virus, how does it function, how does it operate. At level 4, when they started saying, okay, now we're trying to reintegrate, then we created protocols. Now it was about entry, temperature, all of the wonderful forms and the processes that we put in place. Don't do this, don't do that. But I kept reminding people that when we get to level 3, now it's going to be a greater mass, which means there's a greater level of traffic happening. And when one looks at traffic, the one thing that one has to have is empathy. Otherwise, you suffer from a case of road rage. And so for me, I keep saying to people, level 5 was about learning. Level 4 was about creating practices and about protocol. Level 3 is about empathy, because more people now are being tested. More people are testing positive. The numbers are growing. The curve is not flattening as quick as we'd like. Yeah. So the ability to have...
I think now there's probably every one of us now knows somebody close to home that has the virus. Within a very short space of time, from 4 to 3, it's gone from like it's still this distant thing versus now it's on our doorstep. And I think, there's not a single one of us that doesn't know somebody now.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing about being effective as your being self-effective or personally effective, is that the ability when a manager is faced with this now new news that it's right in front of my doorstep is about how you create agility within inside of them. So as HR, we needed to be agile because people expect that from us. How many times haven't they said HR needs to do that because we should know how to? But today, all line managers become HR practitioners in essence because they have to face debriefing. They have to make sure that they understand how to do tracing. So all of these things in the old world of what we know was done through your HR paternity. So now our paternity has grown. Line managers kind of get clustered in with us. They're just a different area of specialization right now.
Yeah.
And so I do think that the ability to become more effective and how you are able to respond is why personal effectiveness as a concept for me is a great vehicle to make for an effective workplace. Because if managers, when confronted with the requirement to think in the moment, has got the necessary knowledge, they are able to make decisive decisions. But they need to overlay that with empathy. So they need to understand that they are dealing with human beings. That's always been the part that we did well. Managers always had resources. As HR, we understood that they were human beings and they were more layered than just being a resource to an organization. And I think that is why we've always had this kind of plethora of skills that we need to plug together. But this too now becomes a manager's requirement. So we need to become almost like, comrades in this game right now. And I think that is one of the big shifts for us.
Definitely so. I mean, the whole idea of synergizing or creating comrades between HR and between employee is definitely crucial in terms of this, knowing that we need to all kind of figure it out. And I think there's got to be empathy kind of going both ways. It's not a one-way street. It's definitely a two-way street. Tell us about mindfulness in the context of personal effectiveness.
So whenever I do coaching with any of my leaders, one of the biggest things that I always remind them is that in order for you to make really good decisions about anything, it's to actually figure out how to navigate the noise. So mindfulness in the context of personal effectiveness has always been linked to the concept around understanding that the noise does not stop. You need to respond to people that are off sick, can't come in on travel, as well as the fact that you've got a contact trace to finish, as well as the fact that somebody just came back with a COVID-19 positive test. So there's a lot going on for a line manager or leaders in organizations. So the ability to apply one's thinking, to calibrate your mind to say, how do I make sense of what is most critical to respond to based on who I'm responding to? So when a line manager is faced with discovery of a COVID-19 test, having to do an impact trace, having to make sure that they communicate and debrief with the environment, it's to understand how does the one feed the other. So mindfulness is about settling the noise. It's about looking at all of the elements and understanding how do I leverage the ability to tie the one to the other. And that is one of the greatest art forms that only consultants can share with you around how do we really create more effective workplaces through just organizational effectiveness. Because mindfulness is about making sense of all of the elements of noise and redirecting your focus to what's going to have the highest impact and knowing how to respond with the right response. And so if you think about it, if somebody takes positive, it is about saying, how do I create compassion? So you know what elements feed with what, and I think that is it's a big component of some of the coaching work that I do currently. So I do think it's about making sense of the noise in your mind, and the way in which you make sense of it is to really think, what am I listening to? Because there is a lot going on around us, and to be honest with you, Brian, the noises are not going to lessen. It's actually going to grow because the complexity of every dimension of what we're living. And let's not forget about the fact that we need to transition from COVID-19 back into some kind of normality. How do we get there? And how do we shift and listen to different things, new noises? And so I do think that mindfulness as a strategy from organizational effectiveness around how do we develop human beings to create almost like a great symphony of your sounds, you need to understand exactly what every aspect represents with regards to your role and the role that you play with your staff.
I suppose, like you say, the challenge is being agile enough to adapt to what may be considered a new normal, or just going back to what it was before. Nobody knows what the answers to those questions are at this time. So, what are the organizational value propositions or benefits of personal effectiveness?
I think there are great value propositions to organizations. Firstly, employees, they feel that there is a level of representativity of the situation. You don't mind if a manager is firm if the situation requires it. You don't mind if the manager is directive if the situation requires it. So I think the one thing that you get is that employee trust the level of response they get. That's a huge value proposition when there's good effectiveness in a leader. The second thing is that people start to create less of a sensationalization of the situation. Because when people don't trust the environment or the leader, what does happen is that they start to share their personal perspectives on what they see. And perspective is only reality if it's given feet to grow or it's given a vine to grow. So that's another thing that's really an impact on culture right now, is that when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, people got texts all over. We all know, we got fake news. If one person has the platform to influence, but they influence incorrectly, the ability to lose your audience, which is your team, becomes a greater critical mass to you. So that's another thing. Create the ability to be the trusted source in your organization. And I think the other benefit with personal effectiveness is that leaders are able to deliver more value in the moment. I think the more effective you are as a leader, the more value you create for your organization in the moment, because error rate is normal. We're not supposed to be 100% fit all the time. 80% to 90% allows us to be human. But when the margins diminish further because you are ineffective in how to manage or how to lead or how to manage the given situation, it does create degrees of diminishing effect on everything else. And so I think for me, those are the aspects that I think high level of value propositions. I mean, I can go on and on with regards to what I have seen shift in leaders when we go through personal effectiveness coaching, or it's not even about coaching. When we do it in the context of when I sit on an exco and we make decisions that is about how does this talk to both team and to the business. It is a balance of a good balance between serving the team as well as serving the business. I find that we've had great success. So I do think there's a lot of value proposition in making sure that leaders are effective in their roles, as well as employees are given effectiveness, because from a concept of resident leadership, the ability to hold your line manager accountable is also an opportunity for employee, but that would mean that they understand what level of accountability they are given. So an employee needs to understand that there's reciprocity, and that's what I've done when I've done staff effectiveness enablement. So I think that effectiveness holistically as a concept allows for organizations to shift into the right direction, whether it's personal effectiveness in just starting with self as the initial concept that I'm sharing today. All I'm saying is that organizations will continue to be flourishing and thriving. With the amount of downsides that we see right now, we don't want to be a statistic. We want to thrive as a business. And I think if you can start at some point, I think the self is a great place to start, because you can hold yourself accountable. This is what I contribute, this is the value I create, and this is how I give that value to my organization, because I want to be sustainably employed. I want my function to be sustainable. I want my brand to be sustainable. So I think it's really just an equation of exponential growth if it's done with a degree of investment for the person. And so that's why when I start with self, and then we grow from there.
A lot, Faatiemah. If anybody wants to contact you, I have included your email in the description below, so they can contact you directly. But otherwise, Faatiemah, thank you very much for your time. I hope our viewers have learned something today. And if they want more information, they can get a hold of you. So thank you very much for your time. I know you're very busy, all sorts going on at the moment. So yeah, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Yeah.
My pleasure. I'm glad that I could be part of this. I think it's an exciting initiative, Brian.
Cool. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Chatting.
Cool.
Cheers, Abe.
Thanks. Bye. Just cheers, Faatiemah. That was Faatiemah Lodewyk, HR manager of the Clicked Group, talking about personal effectiveness. Again, thank you very much, Faatiemah. If anybody wants to get hold of her, her email is available in the description below. Guys, please subscribe. We're trying to build a community here. So please do subscribe. We'd really appreciate your support, because the more people that are participating in a conversation regarding HR, the more opportunity that we have to really, elaborate on our profession and our industry and really just learn from each other. So tell your friends, please subscribe, and thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate each and every one of the people that spend their time watching this, and I hope it adds value to you and your professional industry. Thanks so much. Cheers.